Well, good afternoon, my algebros. Let's go through the Chapter 4 study guide. So on number 1, we can see that this is not a function, therefore it's not a linear function, because we can see that the x value is repeating, right? We use the vertical line test to check, and when it hits the x values at two places, then we know the x is repeating, therefore it's not a function, so of course it's not a linear function. On number 2, by the table, you can see that there's a constant change in the x values and a constant change in the y values. Therefore, there's a constant slope telling us that it is a linear function. On number 2, this is a zero slope, and often people say, how do I explain that? And I would say because the y values are repeating, there's just no rise. So it's just a zero slope, which is really different from an undefined line where the x is repeating or cheating, right? Number 4 is a negative slope, and we can tell that because it ends in the negative infinity quadrant. On 5, we have to solve for our x and y intercepts. And because if I want the x-intercept, the y value is 0. And if I want the y-intercept, the x value is 0. So I can substitute 0 in for y to solve for x. And I can solve for y, putting in 0 in for x. And these are our x and y intercepts. On number 6, it asks us to just say what the x-intercept is, and that means y would be 0, so I would just solve by dividing by 3, and I would get 9. On number 7, the slope is negative 3 over 7, and the y-intercept is negative 8. On number 8, this is a zero slope because all the y values are negative 9. On number 9, we use our slope formula to solve for our slope. Remember that a negative number is positive. We don't want to make that small error. Number 10, we do the same thing, really watching our negatives. And we see a negative divided by a negative is obviously going to be a positive slope. On 11, our slope, our rise over run, I'm going down 4 and over a positive 5. We can see this is a negative line because it ends on negative infinity, and my y-intercept just happens to be 0. So the equation of my line is y equals negative 4/5 x. And I could put plus 0, but I don't have to. Now we're graphing equations. On 14, it's written in y equals mx plus b. So we know our slope means that we're going to rise 1 and run 4. And our slope is first started by the y-intercept. So we find the y-intercept of negative 2, then I rise 1 and I run 4. And I draw my line and I include my arrows using a ruler. On 15, I could either solve for y, and I'll show you that in a minute, but I chose to use my x and y intercepts because they both divide into 6 evenly. So when I do this, I get that y-intercept is going to be 3, and my x-intercept is going to be negative 2. I have 2 good points, and I draw my line. Now, of course, I could have decided to solve for y, subtracting 3x from both sides and dividing by negative 2, and then I could have graphed using y equals mx plus b, which is the same line. 16, I isolate my variable y in order to solve using y equals mx plus b. And my slope is negative 1/3, so I'm going down 1 and over 3. And my y-intercept is 2. 17, I'm given a point and a slope, so I use my point-slope form. I substitute in the values that I know, and I solve for y, getting y equals negative 5x plus 13. On 18, I'm given 2 points. So before I can use the point-slope form, I have to first find the slope, which is 2. And now I can pick a point, doesn't matter which point I pick. If I choose the first point, I use the point slope form and I get y equals 2x plus 2. On 19 and 20, 19 asks for a parallel line that will be parallel to this value right here, this line, but it has to go through this specific point of 8, -2. So I know that if it's parallel, it has the same slope. And if it's perpendicular, it's the opposite reciprocal. So from -4 to +1/4. The equations look the same after that. It's just a different slope. So I get y minus a -2 equals my slope times x minus 8. And then I substitute in the slope for whichever one I'm doing. The parallel line is the same, so it's -4. And I solve and I get y equals -4x plus 30. And on 20, I'm using my opposite reciprocal slope, but everything else is the same. Y minus a -2 equals my slope times x minus 8. I go ahead and distribute. And -8 divided by 4 is -2. And I simply subtract 2 from both sides and get y equals 1/4 x minus 4. So again, don't forget to do all of the other problems on the practice tests and the other videos also posted on Mathemagical Girl. And I will see you in class to do the test and move on to our next project that we'll do over Thanksgiving break. Alrighty, make sure you come on to Zoom tonight at 7 to 8 if you have any more questions. See you later. Bye.